It's the anonymous super baller. I'm here for I guess we'll call it a recap. Um, the Lakers lost to OKC 101-93. It's game 19 from November 29th, 2024. Um, what I like to do is listen to what the sentiment is. Try to see where some people's heads are, as far as fans and people affiliated with the team, people that have channels, fans, you know. So today, or the game against the Thunder, it seemed like people were kind of down after the game. OKC is the number one team in the West. I know they're down a couple players. Who isn't? So uh, um, I mean, yeah, you could go and say, well, the Lakers are beating these teams, but they're without so and so. It just seems like, this year everybody is missing major pieces. So, me personally, I'm not going to say, well, if they, well, they won but or lost, but this team didn't even have this. I don't look at stuff like that this year, anyways. Actually, um, the Lakers to me, they look like a different team. Very different team. They look serious. They look really serious. Like they had serious intentions. Last few games, they really look like they're going through the motions. They look like they didn't care. The effort wasn't there. A lot of times, that's what things can look like when teams don't have like a true direction in their mind. They don't. There's no in their minds. They don't like have a blueprint or a map on where they want to go. They don't trust in each other. There's inner turmoil. It's various things, and it shows up on the court. The court is the play on the court, the activity on the court. It's almost like I don't know. It's almost like they're putting on a rehearsed play. And if there is a lack of belief, there's a lack of trust. If there's no motivation, those are things that are in people's heads. And those kind of things you rehearse in your head. You just do. If you have negative thoughts, if you have a problem with something, those kind of things just play over and over in your head, and then you come out, and it reflects in how you play. This game, the Lakers seem to have a great deal of intensity compared to how they've been playing, like, say, the last 5 games. Actually, what the Lakers seemed like to me, they came out with definite purpose the first 3 games of the season. First 3 games of the season, of course, they won all 3 of those, but they're like a buzzsaw. The ball was moving, players were moving. There's a lot of force behind their actions. And then after those first 3 games, there was there's a different level of activity. I could go play by play and all this stuff, but that's not really my style. What my style is to point out a few things here and there that, if you change those little things, you actually change your team. Um, Another thing with, going through every single play, um, I just think that, we have become a blame culture. So anytime something doesn't go our way, we just want to start blaming, blame, it's your fault. You did something wrong. I don't like just blaming. Like anytime something goes wrong, we got to go find and then somebody has to pay. That's not, um, as far as that goes, there, okay, so I'm not going to do the blame thing, but there are three individuals that, that I think, if they raise their levels of activity, this Laker team gets much better very quickly, like next game type of thing. If they hear this, if they don't hear it, if nobody hears this stuff, then whatever, The first one though is Nate McMillan, actually. One of the theories that I have is that this season is all about the assistant coaches. The success of teams. Yeah, you have your head coach, but the assistant coaches. I looked up one day and I'm just sitting there looking like Boston just won the championship. They have Sam Cassell. I look at the Clippers. The Clippers, you would think, they lost Paul George and Kawhi is injured. You just think, oh, they're in deep trouble. But they picked up Van Gundy, who's an excellent coach. He's an idea man. He's one of those guys that tinkers and he has the obsession and he's always looking at stuff and he's like, well, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? He's going to bring you things. The Lakers have Nate McMillan, old school, former head coach. I watched him a lot when he played. I even watched him play in college. And his calling card, I guess you would say, is defense. Nate was a prickly defender. He wasn't a massive as far as body type, but he played like he was. He was he had a very strong body. He had great wingspan, very active hands. He very intelligent hands. He'd get in the mix, and he never backed down from anybody. He was hardcore. He was a hardcore player. Not to be confused with a power player, but he was hardcore. He'd get up into you defensively. He had intelligent hands. It's kind of like hands that get involved and just make things happen, to where you have to, if you're an offensive player, you really have to start thinking about what you're doing when he comes around. It's like, uh-oh, here comes Nate. Come Nate with that bull, So, and what surprised me is that I didn't see any of that in the Lakers. Somebody, Baron Davis, on the Draymond Green show the other day, he made an interesting point. Well, it's mostly interesting to me because I was thinking about this the day before. But he made an interesting point. He was talking to Cam Thomas from the Brooklyn Nets, and he said, man, you need to get in there and foul. You need to get you a couple fouls in there. And he's absolutely right. I don't know if anybody noticed, but the last game the Lakers had, they only had 11 fouls for the whole game. This game they had 17. Um, you have to have fouls. Um, because if you don't foul, if you don't get any fouls, I mean, not fouling can be an art form, but it's also you let the other team know that you're not going to contest their activities. They're not going to be, and it's not even about laying wood on people. It's not like, oh, there's going to be a price to pay, but you know, if I'm an offensive player and I know that somebody is trying to avoid fouls, their mind is, it's like you're at least halfway into stopping me and halfway into making sure that you don't get into any hot water. So if I know you're not going to foul, if you're not going to really, really bring the intensity defensively, then I just go find my spot. I'll do whatever I want to do. I know I'm going to get off a nice, clean shot, move where I want to on the court, no problem. So that's that's why I look at Nate. Not trying to call him out, but it's like what I would like to see is guys kind of take on the identity of a Nate. Kind of like you would with the Houston Rockets. I mean, their coach, he is the most intense. When he was with Boston, he gets in players' faces like, man, what are you gonna do? He can't stand when guys play soft. It might be his favorite word, soft. Now I will say the Lakers, they look totally different this game, and I mean they look completely different defensively. I know I listened to people. It kind of seemed like they didn't seem to think so, but to me it was clearly evident they had a whole different style that they were using. LeBron was incredible defensively. To be honest, I mean AD. People say AD is the best defender on a team, which he is. Possibly and probably the best defender in the league. But LeBron has the ability to be right there. And, so I don't, LeBron played an excellent defensive game today. Can it get better? Yes, he can get even better. But LeBron is one of those players where when he's locked in defensively, he can blow up all kinds of offensive sets. Whatever you're trying to do, whatever you're trying to set up, he can sniff it out. He can come in there, blow it up. Quick feet, long arms, very strong. He can just come in and muck things up. And that's the direction he was headed yesterday. So if you're a Laker fan, you should be extremely happy that's where LeBron's head was at. Going back to what I was saying, the three individuals, I'll just get straight to it. Nate McMillan, Max Christie, Cam Reddish. So if you look at it, you have Nate, who's a defensive mastermind, basically. And then you have Max and Cam, who are, you go outside of AD and LeBron, these are your athletes. This is your athleticism. This is your young guys that can fly around the court, long arms, X, Y, Z. But they haven't been that. I mean, the OKC game is pretty much, for me, from what I've seen, the closest thing to that was this game. Other than that, they just haven't been bringing it. Cam has been playing. Every time I've seen him play, he's always playing on his heels. He's kind of jogging around. The word I would use is listless. Um, he hasn't been playing with intensity. He hasn't been using his length. He kind of, I'm not trying to get on him because there's so many people do it, but it's what I call the NBA BS. When guys, back in my day, they called it fake hustle. Where you're out there letting yourself get screened all the time. Cam plays on his heels a lot. Today he played on the ball of his feet. Usually plays on his heels. He is a reach-in artist, but outside of that, you just don't get the sense that he's shutting guys down. Tonight was different. That's I was really impressed with their activity. Max is what I call a benign defender. He does things right, I guess. He's in the right spots. He's picking up. He's taking the tougher defensive assignments, all that stuff, but he's not making anything happen really. He doesn't get steals. He doesn't what he's not, I'm not gonna say he's not good at it. What he's not doing is anticipating. It's like he's deactivated anticipation. He's not seeing plays before they happen. He's not getting in the passing lanes. He's not being disruptive. He just basically playing, I guess, a kind of textbook defense, but everybody always gets their shots off. When Max is on you, you can get the shot off because he's not going to foul you one. He's not going to really get into you. He doesn't put hands on you. And then he allows people to just screen him off of him. So if you got Max on, say you're James Harden and Max is out there on you, you just call a screen. You don't even have to really screen him. You just run by him. If I'm down in the post, I see Max out there on Harden, I just run out there and Max will just peel off and go away. And that's not the guy you want to be. You want to be that guy like you're gonna really have to scream me to get me out of here, and still that might not work. I'm not just gonna give you a textbook contest, but if it's me, I'm not gonna block your shot. You're just gonna, like I said, go through your move, your tap dance, and then you're just gonna fire away. It's like you're in practice versus, I go through my move and all of a sudden this guy pulls out the pogo sticks and all of a sudden I'm shooting a jumper and he's a foot higher than me, ready to, block my shot. And you got to come back down with it, or you got to throw the ball away or something like that. Max can do that. He just doesn't do it for whatever reason. But if Max decided to just get after people, like really get after people, it's there for him, The reason I'm talking about Cam and Max, Cam, if you go back to when he was, they had the fabulous freshman at Duke, right? And the word was Cam was the best out of the three of them. He was the best going in, at least from what I heard. He comes in the league. He things don't work out how he thinks. And I think part of that is he as far as I know, identified as, the way he was groomed coming up, he was a point guard. And now, he went from point guard to a 3-and-D guy or whatever. But I think the biggest issue with him is, when you're highly touted as he was, coming through high school, all that stuff, to all of a sudden be lost in the shuffle. He was lost in the shuffle at Duke. And so it's kind of like you feel like you're losing your game. It's like, man, I don't know what I'm supposed to be out here doing. I'm not playing my game, and then I'm not really sure what game. If I'm not doing my game, then I'm not really sure what game I am doing. If I'm not, and then once you get lost in the shuffle, then it can be totally lost what kind of player someone really is, what their strengths are. So then, you get to the pros, you get a few injuries, this isn't that, and all of a sudden your name, you go down a list, he's down to, I don't know if he's a minimum player, but I guess you can basically say he kind of fell off. And then, of course, with injuries, it's like a snowball effect. He's almost been, the word is, they say, pigeonholed. But it's just like, so all of a sudden you sitting there thinking, when you're coming out of high school, of course, players like, yeah, I'm ranked so-and-so. I do a couple years. First of all, I'm going to be one and done. Then I get to the league, do 3 years, sign a rookie, max extension. You just think that it's just going to go like clockwork, But then, his career got hit with the hurdles. And so a few years, then more years down the line, now he's at the Lakers. He doesn't really know what he's supposed to be doing. He's a renowned gym rat. That was that was who Cam Reddish was. He was a gym rat, obsessed with the gym. You can't keep him out of the gym. And now, I mean, just looking at him, you never think that he was a gym rat. You would think that he's the minimum guy. I'm gonna come in, shoot for 10 minutes. I did my 10, I did my required cardio if I have to, and I'm out. I don't think that that's who he wants to be, but it's kind of like, that's where he is. Before the OKC game, when I look at him, I just look at, he's involved in the NBA BS, or what I call fuddy-duddy activity. Fuddy-duddy. Fuddy-duddy is when fuddy-duddy is you want to contest the shot, you rotate out, you contest, but really you want to cherry pick. You want to contest the shot. You ain't, you're not getting a piece of it. You're not getting any of that. And then you just run up court, and then you look up, and you want the baseball, you want the long pass so you can get your little layup, whatever like that. That's fuddy-duddy. Fuddy-duddy is when you just, people don't even screen you. They just got to run past you, and you just automatically switch so you can get out of there so you don't have to guard. Fuddy-duddy is when you go to the hole and do a little layup, and then you do your little dance. You fall under the cheerleaders, the cameraman, the front row. You do all that, and then you take an hour to get back. Well, actually, you don't even get back on defense. You give your little trot back, and you're doing all the stuff. You're checking to see if you're bleeding. All that's fuddy-duddy to me, And so I watch Cam. He has if he was a distance runner, it would be great. I mean, he has an incredible leg kick. His heels go all the way back. They're hitting his back. He just, it glides, but it's not in intensity. I mean, let's say you get let's say you're on the opposite team, you're at the top of the key on defense, you get a steal, right? And Cam Reddish is under the basket Cam Reddish has the capability to catch you, chase you down and catch you before you get to the other top of the key. Cam Reddish is athletic, not as far as taking you to the hole, first step and all that stuff. That's not his thing, or that's not his strength, I'll say. But as far as the other stuff, Cam can come and get you, So, me as a, if I'm going for the Lakers, it's there. It's is he going to press the button? Back to Max. Max, it's interesting. I look at Max. I listen to Max. Max, to me, he seems like, what I see, start with personality and all that stuff. As far as what I've seen, he is kind of like a mix between Tiger Woods and Kobe Bryant. I can just see it. There's some Tiger. You listen. The first time I noticed, I was actually listening to Max being interviewed, but I wasn't watching the TV. And so I'm just hearing his voice, and I just look up, and I'm like, man, that sounds like Tiger Woods. And I look, and it's Max Christie. Like, oh, okay. We got Max out there. You look at Max. He doesn't get into the fuddy-duddy stuff much, but he like I said, he's a benign defender. He looks like he's doing everything by the textbook. He get out there to contest, but it's like guys are always hitting jumpers on him. It's like Max is a defensive guy, but it's like, actually, I want Max on me so I can get my jumper on. He's not gonna block the shot. He's not gonna get into my dribble. He's not, so I just do my little move. Somebody come to the screen, nah, go away, I got this. I got Max out here. But Max has all the ability. Max will dunk on your head. Max has hops. He has reach. Now, one thing I will say, they list him at 6'6", but it's like every time I see him on guys that are 6'6", he looks way shorter than them. So I don't really know what's going on with the tape measure, but Max is a dude, I said he reminded me of Kobe Bryant. There's some, people, as a fan of Kobe, like if I was a huge fan of Kobe and I heard someone say Max Christie has some Kobe, I'd be all up, man, I'd be trying to rip the man. Max ain't got no, Max has some monster in him. I'm trying to tell you. Max has some monster in him. It's just the monster is asleep. The monster is in the basement, in the cage, asleep. Belly full or whatever like that. The monster's belly is full. He's down there sleeping. Max has it. He just hasn't activated it. So now you have a Cam and you have a Max. Cam and Max. All around the league, you got all these 6'6" to 6'8" guys, these athletes, these long guys, arms, long arms, knuckles dragging on the ground type, length. You got Jalen Williams from OKC. You got a Jaylen Brown with Boston. Golden State has a Kuminga. You got the Clippers just have dudes, The Nets have dudes. All around the league, you got these guys. Who are the Lakers guys? It's Cam Reddish, Max Christie. They haven't been activated yet. Yesterday, the OKC game is the closest I've probably seen as far as both of them. They actually brought out a lineup. I was sitting there looking. I'm like, I like this lineup. LeBron, D'Lo, Max, Rui, Cam Reddish. And of course, you could You could put an AD in there, small ball lineup, get after you, because that's end of the day, all the offense and the metrics and the mathematics, the Boston mathematics and all that stuff, and the analytics and the 3-and-D, and this is the age of the 3-pointer and all that stuff. No matter what happens with all the offensive talk and all that stuff, you have to shut it down defensively. You just do. And that's who Max is, or that's who Max will have to be. That's who Cam will have to be. And then, of course, the defensive mastermind, Nate McMillan. I know what Nate can do. Sooner or later, Nate's personality, his being, his essence is going to have to, the osmosis. It's going to have to seep into the team. Yesterday, I saw it. LeBron, that's defensively, that's some of the best I've seen LeBron in probably the last 10 years. I mean, you might not think so because there weren't big blocks and all that stuff. LeBron was disruptive. OKC would do stuff, and here comes that guy, man, 6'8". I call him the King Bully. Here comes the King Bully. It's like, everybody tuck your chain, That's who LeBron was yesterday. He was flying around the court. He wasn't doing stuff that LeBron, he will contest and cherry pick. Yesterday, he would contest and come back in. He didn't have a high rebound count, but he had power rebounds. He was going into traffic and snatching that thing. A lot of times I know when LeBron is engaged, when you hear that ball snap, you don't have to, you could be, have the game on and be, let me go grab another beer or something like that. And you're grabbing the beer and you hear this pop. And it's LeBron in there snatching, trying to, he's trying to take the air out of the pill, When LeBron gets like that, man, it gets, it should make the hair, if you're a Laker fan, if you're a LeBron fan, it should make the hair stand up on your neck. LeBron was doing his thing. Okay, so let's get this moving so we can end this video. One thing that the Lakers did well, and this is what can keep them in the game against any team in the league, is when they control the pace. LeBron wasn't trying to run like the young boys or with the young boys. Instead, if he got the ball in transition, he played with pace. He lets his young guys run, and then he can just find them. They call it spray or what, I don't know, what the terminology is today. Actually, that probably wouldn't be spraying, but he's leading the break, but he's not out there trying to fly. He's not trying to show that he can, run a 4.3 40. I'm 39, 40 years old, but I could still run with the best. He wasn't trying to prove that. He controlled the pace. And when you control the pace, there's all kinds of good things. I'm not going to get into it now, but all kinds of good things can happen when you're controlling the pace. And so that was a beautiful thing to see. One thing that was not good, Austin Reeves gets hurt. He takes a hard spill, Hartenstein, and it doesn't matter who it was. He lands on his back. You could hear the thud. You could see the agony. He goes to the locker room. He comes back after halftime, comes right in the game, say around the 5-minute mark, and then he just starts firing away. To me, that was those are the type of things that you have to be cognizant of. First of all, they say, it's an old school thing. You come in the game, you don't come in fresh off the bench and your first time down court, shoot the ball. It's always been when I grew up, that's all they said. But if you watch how many people just come straight in the game off the bench and hit a shot that's not a layup, they almost always miss. I've been watching ball for over 40 years, and it's the same thing. You come in straight off the bench and you start firing away, let alone you just got hurt. So now your body's out of balance. You have pain, soreness, tightness, and then you come in still, and you have AD out there. AD offensively hadn't gotten into the flow the whole game. You look at the lineup they have. If you sit there and look at the lineup they have, you say, okay, this is where we're first going to go, which is AD. And then we'll work off of AD. Instead, Reeves just comes in and boom, fire, boom, fire. Boom. I'm not trying to come in on, down on AR, but it's just like, especially when you're controlling pace and all that stuff, you have to be completely aware of what's going on. When you're trying to win and win big, all the stuff about stats, numbers, getting your average, all that stuff has to go out the window. When you think about, getting MVPs, scoring titles, all those things. And I'm not saying that's what AR was doing, but you have to totally focus on what's going on the floor. And like I always say, or not. But, I like AR. AR, I'm not going to get to it right now, but AR, last 5 minutes, tough as they come. I call him the king of and ones. He always gets the and one. He gets ultra aggressive. He goes into his alter ego. But this was, 4 minutes left in the third. And so, those are some things, that I observed as far as that goes. Now, another thing is when I go through, I don't want to hit on 300 points and all that stuff. Just a few things, Max and Cam, intensity. I like the small ball lineup, recognition, with AR, you're coming in off of being hurt. And then also on top of that, even if he wasn't injured, AD needs touches. Of course, everybody's gonna say that, so I'm not gonna. LeBron, he had 5 turnovers. If LeBron cleans up his turnovers, whoever plays the Lakers, you are in trouble. Robert Horry touched on it, leaving his feet. LeBron, I think at least his first 3 turnovers, maybe first 4, is he was going into traffic. Sometimes it wasn't even like real traffic, but he would leave his feet. And I can get into this in another time, but some players they can get away with that. A couple players can probably go a whole career and get away with it. But right now, LeBron's not getting away with it. He's leaving his feet, which means for the most part, he's improvising and not working off of a plan. When he's driving or moving around, he's not dictating, in those circumstances, he's not dictating what's going on. He's just kind of flowing, and then he just decides to leave his feet. And that's where, when I was talking about, one of the objectives is to help LeBron in his quest to be the GOAT. This will be the first point, and that will be documented. Basically, I'll be tracking all the elements that will go into helping LeBron become the GOAT. Leaving his feet when he passes is will be the first thing. If he does not leave his feet on passes, which also coincides with, maintaining your dribble. You want to maintain your dribble, and then don't leave your feet when you pass. It is one aspect in as far as turnovers. They had some other stuff. I can't remember, traveled or something. It's kind of, a couple of those things where like the referee made the call, but wasn't the right call. I don't know. I'm not going to get into all that, but leaving the feet, that was the important thing. With each little, as far as LeBron, each of these little things, if he corrects them, like I said, he's going to be a major, major problem. It gets to a point where you will not want to see the Lakers. LeBron, the king bully, is coming through to take you apart. For me, my player of the game was D'Lo. Once again, I won't get into it. It'll require a long video. If you're a Laker fan, D'Lo is your friend. I know lately, last couple years, D'Lo's got to get traded. D'Lo is the man. He's cold. You just have to understand who he is as a player. You want to take his back. Okay, I'll just point out one thing. Who's the greatest shooter of all time? Steph Curry. Well, D'Lo was able to go to the Steph Curry School of Shooting. There's several students. The list is growing. It's funny, all the guys that get into the School of Shooting, they get paid big numbers. Their careers take off after they pass through, the Steph Curry radius. D'Lo is like one of the first. Before Jordan Poole, D'Lo. Never forget that. D'Lo has a clip, as they say. He has tremendous passing skills. He has a big bag, but you have to use them properly. As most people, you need encouragement. But if everybody's like, everything bad that happens, you just blame it on D'Lo. How can you get the best out of somebody when they always have to hold the bag? D'Lo's a fantastic playmaker, but when you have the flame jumper like he does, you have to strategize as far as how you want to use him. People that don't maximize stuff, they always say, well, he's the point guard. That always happened to me. When my max height, 5'9", right? But I had so many tools. But they, the first thing they just want to do, he's the point guard. And you're like, why? Okay, so why am I the point guard? Well, because you're short. So if that's how we're reasoning about the game, then we're definitely never going to reach our potential. If we just look at, D'Lo and say he's the point guard, so he has to be the playmaker and all that stuff, just because he's listed as a point guard or whatever like that, that's where you can fall short. D'Lo's a weapon. That's what he is. D'Lo's a weapon. And so what you want to do is understand your weapon. You stop talking about trading him. You literally have somebody that went through Steph Curry School of Shooting, and you're trying to get rid of him. No. I'm telling you that right now, no. And so this is the first. This is the first video. Long season. We're not. We don't have to. Get everything out there. The very first video. D'Lo is a weapon. He's not your your trade talk conversation. I mean, he can be. You can do what you want to do. I'm just saying. We're trying to win the title. So going, I haven't looked at the schedule. I don't know when the next game is, but, Cam and Max, come on with it. Max beat somebody's, we're not going to start cussing yet. So we'll just keep it, this is my second video. Max, we don't have to unleash the monster and all that stuff, but at least shake the cage, shake the cage a little bit. Let the monster roll around, still, the monster can still be like half asleep, but be like, coming out of that deep sleep. Like, shake that cage, Max. And then, get those guys activated, the awareness. At the beginning of the season, JJ said that he was going to make AD a hub. And so we didn't see, being a hub doesn't mean you have to shoot every time, AD is awesome. You can run, there's so much strategy that you can involve with his game. But he just didn't even really get touches yesterday. Okay, we understand what that means. Defensively, AD was masterful. AD, he, of course, got caught up in the fuddy-duddy. He's the master of, checking to see if there's a dent in his head or if his, ankle snapped off or something like that. Shoot a jumper and then have to, once it goes in, you watch it go in the reshuffle, and you got the reshuffle before you start heading up court, slow motion. But when engaged, there's nobody like AD. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody that can get with you on the block, get with you on the perimeter, AD, like the long arm of AD. I mean, when engaged, when he's using his fast twitch muscles, you better watch out. Nobody's safe. Anything you're doing, AD can get to you. Period. AD can get at you anywhere. You're shooting a jumper, boom. What happened? AD closed out on you. Wait, but he was on the other side of the court. Yeah, you're down there getting ready to dunk. Boom, your stuff gets like AD. AD has that. It's just when it, it's like, which way are we playing? Or are we doing AD, I need my 30 and I'm just gonna shoot my J's and then just chill out there? Or is it AD, I wanna win at all costs. I just wanna win. That's what I saw yesterday. Lakers lost, but they look so much better than they did just the last game, or the last two games, or the last 4 games. The way the Lakers played, that is what you want, and work off of that, and then do all the little stuff. Other than that, like I said, keep it simple. If LeBron stays on the ground for his passes and doesn't leave his feet, they control the pace. I don't know who they play next. Forgot to mention Dalton Connect. They call him Connect 4. I'll call him Connect 3. And then I'll probably have some more nicknames for him. Dalton, one thing with Dalton, he needs to bend his knees a little bit more. I know the NBA defense, you get a wide stance. I see guys, their feet will be 12 feet apart. You can't slide when you have this super, super wide stance. Now, if you're on the block, that's different. You know, you're bracing yourself for impact and all that. But Dalton just got to bend his knees, and then if people are sizing him up, trying to take him to the whole lot of stuff, he doesn't have to make a play, as in you got to get a steal or you got to do, just be solid. Don't get beat. Bend your knees a little bit more. Like I said, it's the first video. There's a lot of stuff. Dalton got that flame. Like, he got that, like, just trust me. Dalton. But if you can't guard, then there's nothing to talk about. You just have a lot of close games where we almost got them, and then be like, well, then we'll be like, well, if Max wouldn't have fouled. And that's not what it was. Dalton got to bend those knees. Defense, everybody, every team, they're like, we're going to go right through Austin Reeves' chest. We're going to take Dalton to the hole. And then Max ain't, we either screen Max off or, Max ain't going to do nothing. So we'll just, they're looking at the Lakers like that. If, all that stuff can change. And then we'll say when that changes, every team that the Lakers play, everything that, the book on the Lakers, they're going to have to take that book, throw it in the ocean, and they have to start a new book, because whatever they were doing before is not going to work. Trust me on that. I'm out.